Obtaining a PE license is a significant milestone for any engineer. As an associate bridge engineer, it's a crucial step for career advancement, increasing earning potential and boosting professional credibility. It's truly the key to unlocking new opportunities and showcasing your expertise in the field. In today's Pass the PE Exam video, I have with me Jaime Cunningham, licensed PE, Associate Bridge Engineer at Pennoni. We'll talk about some of the key steps for preparing for the PE exam and explore the process of obtaining the PE license certificate. Jaime will also share how the PE license has transformed her career, opened new doors, and elevated her professional standing in civil engineering. This episode is brought to you by PPI, a leader in engineering exam prep for the FE and PE exams since 1975.
PPI provides expert prep courses and study resources designed to help you pass the PE exam the first time. PPI's live online courses include hours of lectures, problem-solving demonstrations, exam strategy sessions, office hours, and a passing guarantee. When you take a live online course, PPI guarantees you will pass, or you can take the on-demand course for free. With study guides, practice exams, and more, the PPI Learning Hub offers digital practice and review that you can take with you anywhere you have a device so that you can prepare during the times most convenient for you. Check out PPI today at ppi2pass.com to see all the options available for PE exam prep. Let's dive in.
All right, now let me welcome our guests onto the show for today. Today I'm joined by Jaime Cunningham. Jaime is a licensed professional engineer and associate bridge engineer at Pennoni. Jaime, welcome to Pass the PE exam.
Thank you for having me.
So, Jaime, why don't we start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, what you do on a daily basis, and how you became an associate bridge engineer at Pennoni.
Yeah, so like you said, my name is Jaime Cunningham, and I've been with Pennoni for about 5 years now. I graduated from Penn State in 2019 with my degree in civil engineering with a focus in structural design. I chose to go the bridge route, focusing on horizontal structures. It was just something that always interested in me, transportation and that kind of thing. So yeah, on a daily basis, I'm working on projects in the Philadelphia area, mainly working on the I-95 CAP project and also the 34th Street connector project. On the CAP project, I'm working on things such as pile cap design and pier design under the supervision of a senior engineer.
That's great. For those of you that may be younger in your career and you're not familiar with the idea of horizontal, vertical, horizontal being like a bridge project, for example, for a structural engineer, vertical being more of like a building, like a large building that you might be designing. So just for those of you out there, I just want to make sure you're clear on that. And so, Jaime, congratulations on passing the PE exam. That's a huge accomplishment. How has having a PE license kind of transformed your career so far?
Thank you. So far, I passed it about 3 months ago. So it hasn't done crazy things yet. It has opened up some doors for me for future work. A lot of my current projects, my roles have remained the same, but in future projects that are coming in the door now, I'm able to take more of a advanced role on those. So exciting stuff to come.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the one thing that people should be aware of is Jaime is fortunately passing the exam at a pretty young age, pretty early on in her career, which is great. Not everyone does it that quickly, but sometimes in organizations, just to get to certain levels within the organization, meaning certain titles, certain leadership roles, a PE is required. So certainly to Jamie's point, there may be some more advanced roles and responsibilities for you on your projects. It could be signing and sealing drawings, which means you have responsibility over those. But I think also just in career advancement, which we'll talk about a little bit later, there are some opportunities, or I should say there are some limitations potentially or ceilings on your career if you don't have that license in some of these organizations in terms of how high you can go, if you will. So, Jaime, what motivated you to pursue the PE exam, and at what point in your career did you kind of feel like I'm ready to take it now?
Yeah, so having a PE is something that I kind of always thought would be a goal for myself. I come from a long line of engineers in my family, so a lot of PEs, it was just kind of something that I was almost expected from myself, that it would be something that I was going to do. In Pennsylvania, since there's the 4-year experience requirement.
Yes.
I hit that requirement in June of 2023. Just as wanting to kind of enjoy the summer and the fall, I decided to postpone postpone it until the winter when I was more comfortable with studying in those months. But I didn't want it to fall too far off my radar from that 4 year mark.
No, I think you make a couple of important points there. One of them I just want to emphasize is that in Jamie's case, her family had engineers within the family, and that was probably helpful for her, number one, to be aware of the PE license. And, probably it provided some accountability and motivation for Jamie to go and get that license. Not everybody has that. And so that's why we do these videos, because a lot of people aren't aware of the importance of the license. They don't have someone to tell them maybe, hey, you should get your license. Hopefully, either your school had done a good job of educating you about that, an undergraduate if you're watching, or you have friends or colleagues that gotten their license. So I think that's one thing that's really important to note is that, hopefully you're aware of the importance of it if you're watching this video, which is a huge first step. And then I think the second point that Jamie makes is also important is that this is not an easy exam. So you have to be prepared to take it. And if it means taking 3 months off, enjoying your summer, and then locking in for studying, then that's the best approach, right? If it means doing it right away for you and you just want to get it done and get it going, then that might be the best approach. So you really have to be comfortable understanding that you're probably going to be dedicating 6 to 9 months of study prep time, depending on your personal, productivity with studying and how much time you need. And you need to be prepared mentally to do that. And, depending on what's going on in your life. So I think that that's something to take into account when you're planning for your exam preparation. So, Jamie, once you decided that you were going to take the exam, take us through your approach to preparing for the PE exam. Were there any resources or strategies that you found to be particularly helpful?
Yes, so I signed up for a online review course. So I used their lecture videos as well as their practice problems to kind of get me started. I found that coming from a bridge background, I didn't really fit into the civil transportation category or civil structural category perfectly. There was kind of like a background where I could choose either. I personally chose the civil transportation route, but because of this, there were a lot of references that I don't use on an everyday basis as someone who works in like a highway or a traffic role might use more often. So for me, I found that the lecture videos were great exposure in getting familiar with the references and showing me kind of what they're all about. And then I would take a lecture video, I would take one of the lecture videos, reinforce that by looking through the reference myself, doing the provided practice problems for that lecture, and then moving on to the next lecture. And then once I completed the lectures, I left myself about 6 weeks to review and just practice straight problems.
Awesome. That's great. And so I think a couple of important things there. One being, I think a review course is an absolute must. And maybe it's not a must for everybody, but for me, it just provided such structure for the study process because, we're all busy. Usually when you're going for your PE, you're working in industry most likely at the time. So you might have a family, you might have personal things going on. So having a course where you come to every day is so important. I think that just is a general life lesson. Recently, just as a kind of an example of this, I hurt my shoulder and I started going to physical therapy. And the exercises they give me are very basic, but I wouldn't do them at home by myself, right? So when I go there 2 or 3 times a week, I do the exercises. It's the same thing with the study course. If you're going to a course 2 or 3 times a week or watching the videos, it's forcing you to stay locked in and stay focused on the material, which is really important. And I think the other thing that Jamie said is also important is selecting the right PE exam kind of discipline for you, right? It doesn't necessarily always line up perfectly with your job. Like Jamie's kind of like a little bit in between with her role and her professional role. So she kind of had to pick between the structural, the transportation. And so, you can go on the NCEES website, you can pull down the specs for those exams, and you can make the best decision for you in terms of what exam you want to take. And I think that's an important part of this. Jamie, what were some of the challenges that you faced during the exam process, and how did you overcome those challenges?
I think, as you said, one of the biggest challenges is time management. Most of us that are taking this exam are still working 40 plus hours a week. So for me, it was kind of trying to predetermine before I started studying what my schedule was going to look like, how long I was going to study for, basically kind of what my new routine was going to be for about 4 months. So for me, I was able to look at what my priorities were and what I wanted to do as well as studying. So I was able to kind of come up with a plan that allowed me to work my full day and keep my work quality at what it was. Exercise daily, that was something that was important to me. as well as, then finding an hour and a half to 2 hours each weeknight to try to either watch a lecture video or do practice problems. So that was kind of what worked for me. And then on the weekends, I would take about 4 hours each day and try to do the same thing, practice. Really, on the weekends, I tried to just reinforce and practice what I had learned in the lecture videos through the week.
That's great. So Jamie obviously put together a good process for herself, which I think is important. She was trying to do an hour and a half to 2 hours of kind of learning during the weeknights and then kind of reviewing and reinforcing those on the weekend with maybe 4 hours roughly each day. And again, everyone's hours will be different. It depends on you and how much time you take to study. Could be shorter, could be longer. But I do think that time management is critical. And the one recommendation that I can give from my experience is you need to kind of reverse engineer it a little bit in that you should sign up for the exam, in my opinion, right away. So you have that target date that you're shooting towards. And then to Jamie's point, you can look at your calendar, understand your work responsibilities, and put your planning, your study schedule around that. And I recommend getting the study time on your calendar each day, just like everything else that's on your calendar. So you keep it really important and you stick to it. I mean, I think it's like a lot of things in life. If you have a good process, you develop good habits around it, you will be able to prepare accordingly. And the review course and, getting things on the calendar and studying at the same time every day, all these types of habits and things you can do can make it easier for you. So Jamie, you passed the exam. What happens next in terms of actually applying for and receiving the PE licensure certificate?
So in Pennsylvania, when I took the exam, that was something that you had to do beforehand. So in order to register for the exam, you had to complete the application on the Pennsylvania licensing website, as well as an amplified record, which basically writes out month by month what you did for 4 years so that you can show that you have that 4 years of experience. So after the amplified record, you are required to have 5 registered PEs basically advocate for you that you're ready to be a PE, and they submit some paperwork to the state that all has to go and be approved by the state licensing board. And then from there, I was able to register with NESIS for my exam.
That's great. So basically, 90% of this is done before the exam as part of your application to be approved to sit for it. And then there may be a couple of formalities or technicalities that you follow up with after you get your passing grade to get the actual certificate.
Yes.
Okay, great. Jamie, talk to us about how Pennoni helped you and supported you in your preparation and for the exam or this whole process.
Pennoni has been great. I am very grateful to them for what they've done for me. So Pennoni financially backed me taking this exam. They paid for my review course as well as the exam fees and my time for sitting for the exam. That was super helpful for me because, we all have bills. It's nice to not have to worry about that and fully focus on the exam and not have money be a stressor in the background. Pennoni also has a great culture of young people. So I took this exam in June of this past year, and I had other coworkers that had taken it 6 months and then a year before and then a year and a half before. So we were all taking it within 6 months of each other, which made it really helpful for hearing how other people studied and what their plan was, how they approached the exam, and what their strategy was. And it was great to grab information from everyone.
And how did that happen? Is there a network you can use to find them at Pennoni, or how did you find the people that took it?
For me personally, they were all people within my division. So if I'm in the transportation group, in the bridge group, someone in the water resources group took it around the same time as me, and same with the highway group. It just kind of worked out.
That's great.
That way. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I really think that those are the two best things that a company can do to support their engineers to get licensed. Obviously, financially backing them is wonderful. Being able to support them financially, that can be a big hurdle for a younger professional, obviously. And secondly, I think anytime a company can create some kind of connection with others that have taken the exam and promote that knowledge sharing, that's a big deal. There is so much you can learn from someone who just submitted the application or just passed the exam that you really can't learn in a book or a review course. So in addition to those other resources, having a network of people or a way to connect with people in the organization that have taken the exam is really, really, from my experience, invaluable.
I agree.
So Jamie, if you look back on the whole process, what would you say was the most important factor that helped you to succeed in passing the PE exam?
I think the most important factor in passing the PE exam is being diligent with your schedule. setting a schedule from the beginning, knowing exactly how you are going to approach each day, each lecture, kind of what you said, working backwards. I did that as well, where I scheduled my exam and then I started studying. So I was able to have an end date in mind, and I was able to backlog and say, I have this many lectures. I left myself about 6 weeks of time just for practice exams and practice problems at the end once I finished the lecture videos, and I think that was really helpful for me. I think another really important thing is your reference material. You got to be familiar with your reference material. That is single-handedly the most important thing on this test. I think, being able to navigate those reference materials in a timely manner on the exam is really important, and being able to know where to go and where to find what information is definitely a key thing for passing the exam.
That's great. One last question I have for you, Jamie, and I know we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but what are some of the other ways that you see the PE license influencing your future career growth and development down the road in the engineering field?
Yeah, I think having a PE shows your dedication to the engineering profession in general, and shows that you're committed to this line of work. I think down the road, it can not only open like specific task roles that you wouldn't be necessarily open to, but same with management roles. I think having a PE opens a seat for you at the table and allows you to be involved in conversations that you wouldn't necessarily be invited to or allowed to be a part of.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I know I used to do some hiring of professionals and in the engineering industry, and we would always look, did they take their FE yet? Did they take their PE? What track are they on? Because that tells you a lot about like their commitment to the industry and their commitment to their career. And I do think that's a big deal. And I think the way Jamie phrased it is really good, is it gives you a seat at the table that you might not have had if you didn't have your license. That's a really good way to kind of close it out for today. So once again, I just want to take a minute to thank Jamie. Jamie Cunningham is a licensed PE associate bridge engineer at Pennoni. Jamie, thank you so much for spending some time with us today on Pass the PE Exam.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you found this week's video helpful. In upcoming videos, I will solve some more PE exam practice problems and answer more questions from our subscribers. Pass the PE Exam videos will be published weekly, so please be sure to subscribe to our channel here so you don't miss something that could make a substantial difference in your exam result and your career overall. And please ask questions and leave comments below this video, and I will respond to them. Let me know how we can help you, and Pass the PE Exam will have your back. I'll see you next week on Pass the PE Exam.